The periods of literature are spans of time in which literature shared intellectual, linguistic, religious, and artistic influences. Our literature in every part of the world evolved and became much more sophisticated. Today, we're going to talk about these 8 periods of literature. Let's start first from the very beginning, the ancient period. The ancient Egyptian literature was written in the Egyptian language, from ancient Egypt's pharaonic period until the end of the Roman domination. Along with Sumerian literature, it is considered as the world's earliest literature. Its collections include wise sayings, truth observations, and good counsel. Babylonia and Assyria. Drawing on the traditions of Sumerian literature, the Babylonians compiled a substantial textual tradition of mythological narrative, legal texts, scientific works, letters, and other literary forms. Greece. Archaic. The Greeks created poetry before they made use of writing for literary purposes, and from the beginning, their poetry was intended to be sung or recited. Classical. Great poets live up to this stage like Aristophanes, the greatest of the comedic poets, Pindar, the greatest of the Greek choral lyrics. The works of Plato and Aristotle of the 4th century are the most important of all the products of Greek culture and intellectual history of the West. Hellenistic and Greco-Roman. This time, great writers were conscious of belonging to a world of which Rome was the center. China. In China, Confucius edited the Book of History and composed the Spring and Autumn Annals. The 5 classics exist at this period, which became the component stones in China's true Great Wall against barbarism. Rome. The famous epic poet called the father of literature named Ennius was admitted during this time. Its most famous type of literature is poetry. The 3 most famous Roman poets are Virgil, Horace, and Ovid. Virgil is known for writing the epic poem, the Aeneid. Most of Roman literature was influenced and inspired by Greek literature. India. In India, Rig Veda is the oldest of the sacred books of Hinduism, composed in an ancient form of Sanskrit about 15,000 BC. The most well-known great epics was introduced during this time, namely Mahabharata and Ramayana, the embodiment of the social religious ideals of millions of people of India, known as Hindus. The Quran, which is a collection of Muslim tradition, and the biographies of Muhammad, was their highlight in this time. The medieval period. Historical prose saga. Developed in Iceland, it was used by the author in attempting an imaginative reconstruction of the past and organized the subject matter according to a certain aesthetic principles. At the beginning of the 13th century, sentimental romances with an adventurous or pseudo-historical contribution of this period is John Wycliffe's translation of the Bible in English. The most gifted was the poet Geoffrey Chaucer, who wrote, among other great works, the Canterbury Tales. The Renaissance period. The Renaissance occurred from the early 14th century to the late 16th century. The Renaissance was a time of great beauty and art. It was also a time of creativity, imagination, and curiosity. The word Renaissance is a French word which means rebirth. The Renaissance type of poetry began in Italy and France. The verse forms was brought to England by Sir Thomas Wyatt. The model and inspiration for this new poetry was the Italian Petrarch. The Restoration Period. Restoration literature is an English literature written after the restoration of the monarchy in 1660 following the period of the Commonwealth. The three leading Spanish writers of 17th century was Cervantes, Lope de Vega, and Calderon. Works of Cervantes includes the Don Quixote. On the other hand, works of Lope de Vega includes El Isidro, and the works of Calderon includes Life is a Dream. French literature of the 17th century is marked by good papers of the French court and culture. Period of Classicism. This is a movement that can be defined by its attention to traditional forms, concentrating on elegance and symmetry. Historians often identify the rise of Romanticism with the Industrial Revolution, or the American War of Independence. During these years, Spanish colonies won their independence from Spain and started life as free nations. Because of this, much of the literature was political in nature. Most European writers wrote in a way that is called classicism. When writers or artists of any sort follows a popular style, we say they belong to the school or movement. Classicism is a type of writing that shows restraint, careful planning, and a deep respect for the past. The foremost Latin literary figure of the revolutionary period was Andreas Bello, who did a great deal for education and literature. At about this time, in the Philippines, literary works on love of country flourished. In the Philippines, notable were Jose Rizal, Emilio Jacinto, Graciano Lopez Jaena, and Marcelo del Pilar. The Romantic Period. Romanticism was an artifact, literary, musical, and intellectual movement that originated in Europe toward the end of the 18th century. In this period, the writer expresses his feelings. He is imaginative, adventurous, and sentimental. Romantic writing is different from orderly, logical, and restrained writing of the classicists. Writers in many places of the world were looking to Europe for that models. Works of Victor Hugo, the giant of the Romantic movement, Lord Byron, Chateaubriand, Charles Dickens, and Spanish models were being imitated. Period of Realism. Broadly defined as a faithful representation of reality. The term realism may be loosely applied to any writing that seeks to portray life exactly as it is, without embellishment or idealization. In a more restricted sense, it is applied to the style of such novelists as Gustave Flaubert, in opposition both to Romanticism and Naturalism. Other writers of note in this movement are Björnson, Anderson, and Chekhov. Contemporary Period. The literature of the contemporary period not only refers to a quality or style of writing, but also to poetry and prose, which includes works of fiction such as novels, novellas, essays, and dramatic works. Books like The Hunger Games, Harry Potter, and all the books that you see today in the library or even in the book sale are all from contemporary period. The most noteworthy item appearance on this era is called the weblog, which is used by most people on social media nowadays. The contemporary period is still improving today. We can tell how much more it will become and how much advanced it will be in the future. This is all the 8 periods of literature. I hope you enjoyed. I'm John Christopher I. Romero, signing out.